Hey, welcome to today's episode. We're here today with Tessa Arnold. Now, Tessa has an interesting story. She has gone through a lot in a short amount of time. She's lost people close to her at a young age. She's lost people close to her at an older age, while at the same time, like having a successful business in banking and then taking over a business that was an entrepreneurial venture and starting your own entrepreneurial venture. Like there's a whole bunch of unique things this person has gone through, but what's crazy is like the grace around it, like the way that she is focused on the 6 pillars of a person's life that allow you to actually have some amazing success, no matter what walk of life you're in. But her journey to getting here is a beautiful one to listen to, but also powerful in the lessons you extract and learn from it. So as you dive into today's episode, like keep your head kind of in a space of being open to the words that can hopefully navigate hardships in your life for you so that you can actually progress in the next level of your life and do some amazing, cool things so you can do what she says, which is leave this life empty. So without further ado, let's hop into the episode. Hey, welcome into the show. We're here with Tess Arnold. Tess, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. You have a good energy about you, which is it's good because I based on what you do, which we'll find out about, it's good to have. I think the kind of pure energy I feel from you already. So I start the episodes with the same question. You can take it wherever you want. You can be boastful, you can be humble, but here's the question. I'm walking around town. I started in a coffee shop. I'm just having my tea. And I look next to me, this woman sit next to me, to you. I don't know you and you don't know me, but for some reason you feel compelled to turn and start talking to me. In your opinion, why should I listen to you?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think off the bat, I have a tendency to see people and being open to them. I love meeting people. I love hearing about new experiences. I think because I feel comfortable being vulnerable because we're all human and we're connected through our journeys, that I pretty much off the cuff lay down my guard. And I think if more of us did that, it'd be a more beautiful and deeper experience. So I think that's immediately what would happen, right? It's a smile and it's an engagement and it's a pure intention, right? So you put down your phone, you turn to somebody, how are you doing today? What's going on? And I think through that experience of complete attention, vulnerability, and truly just wanting to get to know each other, we'd strike up a conversation, we'd start talking.
I like this. Good. Hey, now, although some people will start talking and I have no idea what they're talking about.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know where the sun is at. Like you live in the San Francisco Bay Area, so you never quite know what you're going to get sometimes with people. But I think there is a beauty to that. I think there is something that comes along with engaging with human beings. I do that like in public. My wife doesn't like it too much. She's like, stop talking to people. Like, just leave them alone. I'm like, they're not unhappy. It was a good conversation, I swear,
Right, exactly.
But I think that's kind of the thing about humanity, all these different experiences.
I was just going to say, my daughter, we were talking about just different adjectives and describing people. And I was like, well, how would you describe me? And I think that's such a great thing to do. If you have children in your life or nieces and nephews or cousins, ask them to describe you in a few words because it's going to be genuine. It's going to be true. It's objective. And they will. And I said, well, would you say that I'm shy? She was like, Mom, you talk to everybody. She was like, so it's the same way because I truly am interested in the human experience. And I'll find that curiosity is a gift. I'm curious. I want to know what you know. I want to hear what you think. I don't have any judgment, expectations. It's truly just an exchange of energy and information, and what a gift that is.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's something cool about that. Now, I know that everybody there's people that are curious, right? They're like, I wonder what that is. There's people that are like actively engage and ask questions, and that's a little bit different. But I like that personally. Like, I don't mind having a conversation unless I'm in a bad mood, which is a very, very rare situation. But I don't know if I want to ask my kids how they describe me.
Right. You should.
I think that they would describe me in a way that'd be like, spot on. I should. They tell me stuff all the time. We have a pretty good relationship. Like all my kids, we're pretty close. It's a good unit, which is pretty cool.
Right.
Where did that come from for you though? Like where did the openness? Were you always that way as a kid? Like did it kind of settle in at a certain point?
I think it was definitely from my parents. My father was a broker associate with a real estate firm. So people were his specialty, but it was more than that. It wasn't just work. He was genuinely interested in people, and he could in a beautiful way, disarm and disengage any kind of guards that were up with people through humor and smiling and openness. And I think it was very much learned. I would observe him and watch him and how people would naturally gravitate to him. And he would always have the biggest smile on his face. And people used to say to me, they'd say that Chris Stewart, he'll walk into a room and not know anybody. And by the end of the night, he knows everybody and they're best friends. And I thought that was the neatest thing in the world, but it wasn't on a surface level, right? He genuinely wanted to know what people had going on. He knew the names of children. He knew the names of spouses and partners. And it wasn't purposeful. It was because he enjoyed it. There was no intention there or expectation. He just truly enjoyed the people that were around him. And I'm sure, that probably rubbed off on me a little bit as I'm watching him and observing him, and that curiosity. And then growing up as I did, out in the country and at a beach town, there wasn't a ton to do. So you got really creative, going out playing with your friends and the things that you do. So I think that curiosity, what's around me, what's in the world outside of me, how do people take it? And it's extended on. And now that I've gotten into the businesses that I'm in and really looking at consumers and entrepreneurship and then also lifestyle coaching, I genuinely have a profound interest in to see how other people communicate, how they tick, what works for them, what balances them. And then I think you might agree, with the platforms that we have a responsibility with the information that we put out there. And post-pandemic, it's been very difficult for people. Not to mention, we also have demands on our attention all the time coming from so many different angles. So now more than ever, human connection is probably one of the things that would heal the world the most in so many ways.
I agree. Yeah, we're built to be with other people or
We
in
are.
community, we'll call it. Yes, there is a big separation. Although
Yes.
it's interesting nowadays, I think so many people like there's this I never grew up in a window of, or a space where I had people consistently talking about being introverted, right? It's like, oh, I'm an introvert. It's almost like everybody's an introvert. And I go, I think you're just lazy. Like you don't want to go to the house. I don't know if you're actually, because then you talk to your friends on your phone all day. Right? Introverts don't want to talk to anybody, but you're texting all day long. So yeah, I think the connection thing is I think here's what my brain does this weird stuff. I woke up this morning and my brain was going, I don't know why I thought about this and this was recalling it, but I feel like we live in this world where like there's this separation from the community, separation from the engagement of
Mhm.
most humans. And I think that leads to this aspect of people being unhappy because you have this it's a pervasive thing in society. And I think more people need to have
Yes.
more deep conversations with people to actually open up and feel more connected.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think about this so much. And I think about the pillars of life, what we need fundamentally, what we need if we take it back and predate it to prehistoric times. So we talk about civilization, the Beta civilization, and how we started. We were in tribes, we were in communities. That's how it started, right? We all had a place
Mhm.
within this sort of pack mentality. We knew where we belonged. We felt protected. We felt secure. We felt connected. And we've gone away
Yeah.
from that. We've shifted away from that so much where now there seems to be a lens that we're all working through. And that's how we connect with people instead of going out, as you said, into our communities. And there's studies that are shown and how children are raised, how parents adjust to parenthood because they don't have those family units
Yeah.
around them. And it's, as you and I both know, and other people know, it's difficult raising children. It's a big job. And we're still
Yeah.
raising ourselves and we're
Yeah.
still growing and evolving. So having community and family around you
Yeah.
is one of the most beautiful gifts. And I would say there's also
Mhm.
incredible studies now, and people share this regularly about loneliness and what mental health looks like right now,
Mhm.
and how even there's a decrease in certain ages of childlessness. People aren't coming together.
Mm.
Marriage rate has changed. Divorce rate has changed. People,
Yeah.
younger men and women, aren't even going
Mhm.
on dates anymore. And you wonder fundamentally, where's the breakdown?
No.
Why aren't we putting the work into connecting with each other, serving our communities, serving each other, and really digging into relationships? And it's introverted is, yes, people will say
Yeah.
that, but I'll challenge that and say, do you know how to properly take care
Mhm.
of yourself so you can replenish and take and really refuel? So it's a balance, right? So
Yeah.
introverted, extroverted, we all have
Mhm.
that. We just need to know how to balance ourselves and properly
Yeah.
take care of ourselves.
I'd agree. Yeah, I'm an extroverted introvert. Like I need to recharge alone, but I love humanity. I love being out. Even if you're a weird person, I'll engage with you. I think what you mentioned earlier was like, going out with your friends and hanging. And I think that in my opinion, there's such a huge lack of that, that as people are getting older, like they're just having all these conversations by a phone or Discord chats and video games. So it's like a pseudo connection, but they really don't know these people. So you're not forced to have to navigate hard conversations that you would have like out at recess, or you would have in the street with your buddy because you're playing hockey and he hits you and like, I'm sorry, I don't care if like those confrontations. And so you don't face them until you're older. And when you're older, you're like, I don't know how to do this. And I don't have to deal with this. Oh, I'm not dealing with this. And so we evade, right? And so then it compounds over time. And now you don't have these connections, and so when you do get in relationships, you're stressing me out. Like, but that's part of a relationship. Like, there's gonna be stress. There's gonna be these tension filled moments, but you work through them. But you don't have the skill set, so you avoid it completely. And so we could talk about this forever because my brain is a weird one on there. But do me a favor, because I know people are listening and going like, "This woman's awesome. I love her brain. What's her story, right? Because we don't know your story yet. Do you mind sharing? Because before we got on, you gave me kind of a little bit of dose of it. Do you mind kind of giving me the background of you as to why you actually now work in a different direction? But we'll talk about that direction. Where'd you begin? That's a
Yes,
better way to go.
absolutely. So I'll do it in a nutshell because as we all have our journeys that we can unpack, but definitely, to relate and hopefully relate to everybody who's listening. I grew up in a small beach town. I actually moved back here now and did in my early childhood dealt with some loss. I lost my father in an accident when I was 12, and then my brother when he was 17 in another accident. So it's sort of been profound moments dealing with loss early. And I think understanding the beautiful fragility of life, at that sense. And then also knowing pretty quickly as the eldest and having two younger siblings that I needed to decide what I was going to do. Right. So I was going to pivot. This happened. I'm 12 years old. I have to help support. I need to really, lift up. I'm not a victim in this. It happened. I don't know how to deal with these emotions. We'll work on that later. And they're there. And I think most of us go through something similar, and we never need to compare because we've all had certain traumas in our life that mold us and in good and bad. And in the bad term I use lightly, I think it's just opportunities for us to heal later on, potentially, or right then when we know the resources. But then on to that, I got pretty gritty and I was independent and went out on my own and sort of trailblazed, made mistakes, stumbled, fell into commercial banking and did quite well and worked there for 12 years and started a family, had two small kids. And I think from the outside looking in, everything looked pretty amazing. At the time, I felt like something was missing. It's almost like you're on autopilot, but you can't express it or explain it. And I was doing well. And
I call it the fog.
Yes. And you enjoy it. And you're all the things. I checked the boxes. We'll put it that way. The boxes were checked.
Yeah.
I was secure. I had the income. I had the lifestyle, had the children, had the family. And then everything started to implode from the inside out. But then there was also this level of uncomfort that I can say this now. I didn't know what it was then, but was not an expression of myself. I had lost myself and I was a shell. I was just an embodiment and my fullest expression of my gifts was not coming through. But I didn't know that then. All I knew is that, and for those listening, it was an unsettling unfulfillment or maybe a question, right? You lie in bed when you wake up and you say, okay, this is it, question mark. And you wonder. And that's the start of it. Hold on to that feeling. It's not good. It's not bad. Don't label it, but hold on to it. And let's start to develop that, right? Let's start to think about that. And that's what I started to do. And then life's continuing to happen. At the time, my husband's working on a new business. I'm supporting him as a wife. He asked me to come on board. And then things dynamically shifted in our relationship. And a long story short, we lost him. And I've got two small children. I'm still working at the bank, but I have this business now that I become a part of. And I'm like, well, goodness, I'm not going to let this fail. This is now the lighthouse in the storm. This was his dream. I've got to take it by the reins and I've got to lead this. So I pivoted and I left commercial banking, which for those listening was absolutely terrifying. It's not that easy. If you have a dream and you want to follow it, people say all the time, go for it, dive in head first. No, you don't need to. I did this for a year simultaneously. And yes, it was very heavy. And I didn't necessarily have the tools to properly take care of myself then, but I managed. And I laid up in bed many nights and I said, can I do this? And I told myself it'd be too
Yeah.
uncomfortable if I didn't. I have to. I have to make a shift.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I
that's,
get it.
I had to. And I left the bank
That's your
and
first out shift moment. I mean,
yes. I
you've
was like,
you've had a lot of them here. I mean,
uh,
the whole thing's about the odd shift moments that you learn. And I mean,
mm-hmm.
I can let you talk, and we're gonna let you.
Yeah,
The
go.
rest of the story. I want the rest of the story because I'm gonna do some awesome stuff now. But I definitely want to go back. Like, how did you?
Mm,
Because I think there's some moments just there. I call this a space of dark work. Like, there's the things we
mm,
do in the dark that nobody sees, and we
mm-hmm.
navigate that allow us to win in the light. Right. So for
Right.
you, losing your life partner,
Yeah.
this person is like who's anchored. I'm sure there had to be a space where you had like to let that settle
Oh,
in.
yes.
Obviously, I get taking the business over and running and rocking. What was it in that window of like because you've already experienced loss? Did that, I don't want to say it, but did it help you navigate this better because of your father and your brother?
Oh,
Or was
goodness.
it just as heavy? How did you emotionally lean into
Oof.
taking this over while still grieving is my question.
Such a good question. I will tell you, and it's hard to even think about now, but the moment where it hit me, the realization that you think about your life journey, and I don't even need to say that things happen for a reason. They just are, right? They just are. I lost my father when I was 12, and here I am having a conversation with my children that their father has passed. And nothing prepares you for that moment. But the fact that I could say to them, in that grief as well, I know how this feels. And I could say to them for months after that, I know how this feels. So it's you picture them sitting on the couch and the little me sitting on the couch right next to them. And I'll tell you, I honestly reflected and had done quite a bit of work on myself to work through those past traumatic events and to look at them in a certain lens that was comfortable to me. And a lot of that had to do with faith and work and some deep work. But I looked at my children, I looked at my little self, and I said, well, I'm going to give these children, all three of them, including myself, what I needed when that happened when I was 12. So not only am I trying to navigate them through this, but I'm taking care of the parts of me that maybe needed a little bit more when it happened. And I don't fault anybody for that, nor should anybody, right? We're all just doing the best we can. But I have an opportunity here to look at that little me and say, okay, I knew what you needed then, so we're going to heal all three of us. And oh no, that looked like significant, some grief counseling, some going through loss. No, while it seems when I reflect back on that it did happen overnight, there were moments in the dark. There were moments where you feel lost and you have to let go of control. You do. The harder it's like trying to hold sand or water in your hands. What happens? The tighter you hold your hands, you can't carry it. You can't control it. You can't control the ocean. You can't control the events in your life, but you do have a choice. You have a choice based on what you're going to, what meaning you're going to assign to those events, what you're going to identify with those events. And there's a couple things, there. So I had to ensure that I was going to learn from this and I was going to guide them to the best of my ability because, the biggest job I have in this world is being a mother. So.
Yep, yeah, I get it. Same for me as a father.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. The older I guess, my kids are all teen. I got a college age,
Yeah.
14-year-olds that are also the twins that are going to go to high school next year. I'm at the middle realm, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
still progressing them through, but it's like it's the farther you go into it, like the more important you realize it is, and almost to a point of like it's all that matters.
It
It's a weird way
is.
of saying it, but it guides every part of me because even though I'm still showing I love what I do, I get to
Right.
meet cool people like you. Like this is my career,
Mm.
but the bigger part of me doing this is like so my kids know that you can do whatever you want and you
Yes.
can engage with people. Like I'm trying to live in a way to be an example. If that makes sense. So it centers
Does.
back to like the lineage, the legacy. I don't know.
No,
It's a weird
absolutely.
part of thinking about it.
There's a quote said the Stoic Dad. I don't know if you follow him, but he talks about it was such a
Uh,
beautiful post that he did once, and he said, "Don't tell your children how to be; show them. Be an embodiment." And I
mhm.
think that extends past your children, be it for your friends, be it for your family, be it for your partner. Take care of yourself, right? So start there. And we
Mhm.
could go through the 6 pillars of health. But when you start to love yourself, you're properly showing other people how they should love themselves. When I show up for my children, I do work very hard to show up as the best version of myself. When I show up in my relationship, I want to work to show up as the best version of myself. So then that gives my partner a chance to show up as
Yeah.
the best version of them and I can support them. Same with my children. But that also
Mhm.
means they need to see me stumble. They need to see me falter. They need to see me fall. They
Yeah.
need to see me cry. They need to see every
Mhm.
moment, every colorful emotion there is in the rainbow. So then they know that they can
Yeah.
express the same.
Yeah, it's true. I think that's very true because there's a lot of people who run around with parents who've gone through things, but they
Right.
hid it from them. And so the kids have no idea
Right.
how to navigate it in adulthood or even in childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to the moment
Yeah,
because you said you had to make a shift, right?
I
So
did.
you've had these things, you've developed some interesting intangibles, we'll call it, as a human through your off shift moments. And now you're at this place where you've had to make some
Mm.
shifts into taking on this new business and having this kind of conversation. Let's pick the story back up from there.
Yeah, so here I am running this business, Snapback Energy, and it's a supplement. And I decided that I was going to make it really my own in his memory and get it off the ground. And he did see it launch, which was fantastic. And I know he's extremely proud of what we've created thus far. But it was very much a call to
Yeah.
action of healthful, just being mindful of your health and what you're taking into your body and really the balance of life. And this theme of balance started to shine through. And my kids truly are my North Stars. They always will be. They're those beacons of life in those moments of darkness where I'm like, okay, well, I'm waking up tomorrow and I'm doing it for them and I'm navigating this for them and I'm an embodiment for them and myself, which is never selfish. So then I start to take on the company and get
Mhm.
it launched and go into entrepreneurship and terrified, leave the bank, my security net. And I do this. And this all happened this past January. I'll tell you,
Oh,
I resigned from the bank a year ago, this past August. And they countered my offer and they said, stay. And I said, you all are amazing.
wow.
I will stay. So I'll stay through January, which I did with the team, which was just great. And so this
Mhm.
past January of this year, I left and I embarked on getting the business launch. We launched another flavor, so our orange flavor. And at the same time, so it's been about
Uh-huh.
11 months, I launched a secondary business. I went on a solo retreat out of the
Oh, no.
country. I got my yoga teacher training. I'm getting ready to do my aerial training. It's just been, as I put it, the pivot, the shift pushed me into
All of the
flow.
things.
And I am becoming the fullest expression of
Yeah.
myself.
I like that. How is that going, like, with the kids
Mm,
as well? Because I think there's always these dual journeys, right? Like, my
yes.
kids, like, they're around me as I grow, and I always tell my wife, like, I never wanna stop because I don't wanna get to the point where, like, I have a father, love my dad, but there's a certain part, and my wife as well, like, where our parents, like, we emotionally superseded them, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm,
So it's like,
mm-hmm.
I don't know who to call. I have buddies,
Right,
like, I don't know how to, like, to get that fatherly advice. I go, I'm never gonna have my kids have to face that. And
right.
so what I try to do is consistently grow. Like, do you find that it's easier or harder as you navigate that journey?
Mm. I have to say, I read something. I think it was Patanjali. When you go through the old Vedic texts, and even when you look at any kind of religion or knowledge or science, there's a profound understanding that the wisdom that we have within all of us is the wisdom that will guide you. Right? You don't need that person because profoundly, when you start to look inside and you start to open up that window, your wisdom is already there. Knowledge is what we gain and what we seek, but the
Mm,
wisdom is always going to be there. And I've said that to myself because you read about stories and it's the prophet or the sages or the teachers, right? And they say when you're ready, the teacher will find you.
yeah.
But understanding fundamentally that the
Oh, yeah.
wisdom's
Show up.
always there, right? You continue to evolve and grow. But it's beautiful. I will say, I'll tell you, this journey that we're all on, you have to continue to grow and expand. But when you start to honor yourself and you
Mhm.
start to go within and share your gifts with the world, right? And people say, oh, but everybody's done that before. Yes, but nobody's done it like you. Nobody thinks the things that you do. Nobody
Yeah.
has the thoughts. Nobody has the
True.
words. Nobody feels about things the way you do and can express yourself the same. Nobody expresses themselves like you do on this show or brings in the same guests or has exactly the same conversations. And that's a gift to people.
Nobody.
So I would
Yeah.
challenge that.
Mhm.
Forget the what ifs, because every what if you say that's negative, I will counter it with the positive each time.
Yeah.
But I'll say there's people
You have
then.
to.
Yeah, exactly. When you start to look within, it's interesting because we are all bodies of energy, scientific. You can look at the science of that. So we're all
Mhm.
bodies of energy and we're all magnetic. The heart actually gives out an electromagnetic
Mhm.
field out to 6 feet ahead of us. When you start to go into taking care of yourself, and that means through intention, action, and thoughts, right? So the intention, the attention, and the action, and people forget about the last one, that's the thoughts. You have to have that box. It's not a triangle, it's a box. You have to have all four. When you start to do that,
Mhm.
you become magnetic and you
Gotcha.
attract people into your lives who will take take you and have those conversations with you, who continuously calls you to evolve. And I'll tell you, I've through the relationships that I'm in now, the relationships I have with my partner, or even with friends that I've made along the way that I've just fallen into and met, I was meant to meet them, but it all seemed very random. The conversations that I have with them cause me to expand. And it's a beautiful gift. And these are conversations that I would not have understood or been able to have a year ago or 2 years ago. And those are now the relationships and the conversations that I attract into my life. So you don't even need to seek them. They're going to come in for you.
Yeah, I like that. I always tell people, this is my own personal view, and maybe this is kind of in line with your stuff. I go, life has a pretty amazing plan for us.
Yes,
there's something cool. The problem is, I think most of the time we mess it up.
Yes.
Like our fear, apprehension, closing off, like those little things, we get in the way of our own greatness, even though there's something already cool out there.
We do.
And so the second business, which I believe I know of, I definitely want to unpack. It's a word that many people have heard of, maybe don't know much about. Do you mind sharing what it is you do now?
Sure. So it's an Ayurvedic health and lifestyle coach. So Ayurveda is the science of life. It's 5,000-year-old Vedic system or body of knowledge that predates modern medicine. It's fantastic. Just to go and simply stating, it is that science of life. It's what we already fundamentally know. It's the wisdom within ourselves that we've lost sight of because the world's a busy place. And even nowadays, it's 2023 and we are constantly bombarded with so many distractions and laden down with so much heaviness that we forget that we are totally equipped to live this life in a very balanced, peaceful way. And what I've started to do is I started the Balance of You Co., and it's balanceofyou.com. And what I do is provide other people with the resources and the 6 pillars of health that I'll walk through with them through one-on-one coaching sessions or breakthrough sessions, or even just giving them information. And I'll show them how they can balance themselves simply and quickly, from day to day. It's great.
I like that. And this thing is, I always have people say, because I've heard the word, it's Ayurvedic. I don't know if it's people always say it's funny words, and I hear it and I go, it's cool. And I've heard stuff about it. And here's the thing. I feel like I've had conversations, but they were so loose or they weren't like concrete that I couldn't explain it, which is a rarity for me. If I've heard something one time, usually I can give you a conversation around it. For me, I'm like, I don't know where to go with this. So I'd love this to be the conversation where someone could break it down a little bit clearer. I get to the 6 pillars and I understand kind of the connections, and I believe I feel like there's a lot more inside of us. There is that no one taps into, because I feel like life for all of us used to be way harder, right? So genetically, who we are, energy, we've dealt with worse and endured more for a lifetime, generations before this. There wasn't Uber. There wasn't, there wasn't, like, you had to go farm and create and make, like, all these things had to happen. So I'm like, we've got these strengths, folks. We just don't tap into them. And so I kind of feel like there's some backdoor to that. But would you kind of explain it or even break down the 6 pillars so that we can kind of, and at least maybe me, I say we, get a full grasp of what it is?
Absolutely. You said so much there, because I will just say it's interesting. If we take it back in time and we go through years and years, millions of years.
Maybe it's just me.
Yes. No, we go back years and years and talk about really what life looked like back.
Hold on. I got a feeling it's my computer.
Can you hear me?
You there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's so odd. I couldn't hear you. Now we're back. Go ahead.
Great.
Yuresh, edit that, please.
There's so much that we can talk about there, and I love it, because I'd like to even go to talk about the piece that you said. We take it back to early civilization, and then we go through all of the different eras, right? So yes, it was difficult, right? We were running for our lives from a saber-toothed tiger, right? Or a woolly mammoth or something like that. But it was simple in the sense that we just needed to survive, get food, forage, stay with us. Now I feel like it's just as hard, though, because we are battling unseen forces that they trap us in our mind, right? They don't allow us to really be the expression of ourselves, because we're constantly told how to be, how to feel, what to see. And it creates what's called a lack mentality. And when you get into a lack mentality, when you're constantly scrolling or looking or not connecting with people at a deeper level that can really damage you in so many ways that you might not be aware of. And I think that's an important thing to note, that yes, I think we're dealing with the same things. And unfortunately, what people don't understand with REV, we get into the nervous system. So when you get into the nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, the sympathetic is that fight, flight, or freeze, right? Which we probably stayed in, when we were early civilization trying to flee from danger. We still have that nervous system, right? So the brain has not developed as fast as technology has. And we are now at a constant battle of trying to keep up with it. And unfortunately, I think in a lot of times we're losing. And we have to try and navigate that a little bit better. So it doesn't fundamentally break down the core values of our society, which a lot of that is connection. But what I try and do is get people out of that constant state of sympathetic and take them to the parasympathetic, which is the homeostasis. And I do that with Ayurveda. So Ayurveda, or the Ayurvedic practice, is really reviewing the composition of the body. So your body, my body, every human out there has a different composition. We have what's called 3 doshas. So think about it as your elemental forces within the body, how you run, hot, cold. Maybe you have more heartburn, or maybe you like these colder foods or warmer foods. You get, seasonal changes affect you a little bit differently. There's so many different variations. But what I do with my clients based on the nutritional health pillar of the 6, I find out their composition and I allow them to know themselves a little bit better. Right? So there's your DNA, there's your genetics, but then there's also the energetics within your body, and here's how they work. So we're taking it down to a full nother layer. You know how you work probably based on your parents, predisposition from your environment, your genetics, your health, what the doctors told you. Well, I'm going to tell you how the energy within your body, which is connected to everything around you, is working as well. So that just equips you with another tool. So that really walks through. Then we break down the nutritional aspect of that, what feels really good and fuels you to the best of their ability. So you taking in a meal and me taking a meal could look totally different. Something that fuels me might not necessarily be the best thing for your gut health, right? Which is the second brain. So we'll talk about that. Yeah. So then we also get into the other beautiful pillars. And I navigate in one-on-one sessions with my clients after we go through the composition. And we talk about the nutrition. We talk about the sleep, which I think is really important and sensitive for a lot of people. One of the most important things that we can talk about. We talk about the movement. Right. So that movement looks at people like, is it just yoga? And I'm like, no, there's so many other things that you can do. You can walk.
Yeah,
please
walk around.
Move your body. It's meant to be moved all the time. We have these incredible bodies that if we don't love, won't be able to love us back the right way. Right. That's the story of all of this.
Very true. My wife and I, we do these, my friends like master track down. I go track with her. We go out and we run hills on Sunday. We run hills every weekend. And I'm moving. I'm like, my body is slow. My wife's like, my body's, and I'm like, at the end of the day, she's in better shape than me. And my daughter runs with her too. And it's like the only difference between me and somebody else that's 40 years old doing it is like, they just don't stop as much as I do, right? They're like, I do it every Sunday. They're doing it every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Sunday comes in. And so there is it's like the only difference between us and who we were as kids that, when I was younger, I was better. It's because you were more active when you were younger. If you just move more often in that manner, it becomes your body's going to handle it the same way, maybe not the exact same, but as well as it did when it was younger, just maybe the same range of motion. But yeah, if you move it, you don't have to keep going, oh, it's because I'm 40. No, it's because you're lazy. Like, go move.
Pretty much. Can we quote that, please? Can we quote that? I mean, that's exactly what it is. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. If you don't use it, you'll lose it, right? And so your muscle groups are larger. So and so you might need a little bit more rest and recovery, but I haven't stopped having fun. I don't know about anybody else up there, but I have 2 children that are 10 and 9. And when I look at them and they're trying something new, I'm like, all right, move over, let me try. I mean, I'm getting ready to take aerial yoga teacher training. And for those who don't know, I fly around in a hammock pretty much. It's the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. Yeah. I can't wait to show my children what their mom can do. But it's like, I plan on having fun until this experience ceases to be over. And I want to be spent at the end of it. I want to be just, worn and expressed and just the fullest expression of myself and tired because I can say, man, I did it all. I did it all. And I didn't stop having
Yeah.
fun, and I didn't stop having the experiences and being the generator of the experiences, right? That's what life is. It's a culmination
Ooh,
of
I like
experiences
that.
that you generate. I have agency over my life.
Yeah.
Nobody else does. And it's my responsibility to create a
Yeah.
life that I want to wake up to.
I like that. There's something I don't know if I've heard it said that way, like the generator. I got a
Yes.
buddy that says the power plant doesn't have energy; it creates energy, right?
Right.
And his name is Brendan. And to logic what you just said, I go, it's really what it is. I think for a lot of us, we grow up and we're told as kids, hey, this is like it'd be amazing, right? And then we get into this flow of doing things, and then we find something we like to do, and then we do more of this thing, and the more we do of that thing, the more we get siloed into just that thing, and the outside world exists less and less to us as an opportunity to kind of step into. And then at a certain point, I think people have like the midlife crisis. And I go, well, you could avoid that if you just didn't hone in and never do anything else. Cause I don't know if it's a crisis, but it's like I feel like it's a longing. It's this feeling of like, I'm separate from all these cool things. Let me go get a sports car. Like, I don't know if you need a sports car. You need something that wakes you up. Like, I think there's got to be something that creates the energy. And I've told my wife, this is my thoughts. I go, like my life, I'm really calm at home. I'm chill. Like if you came to my house, it's peaceful. It's pretty, quiet. We're not arguing. It's not crazy, but you still need to have that energy, right?
Yes.
My wife gets it in track. She still competes at, 39. She just did college track. Like she's killing it, right? So her energy gets to do there. She comes home, chill. For me, I get on stage in front of like up to 10,000 people and I'm out there for an hour just letting loose, right? I get that rise so I can come home and be calm. But if you don't have that in work and you don't have it in fun, I think you like your like hobbies, you find it somewhere. And sometimes it's not that good for your life, your family, but people have to seek that. But if you say, hey, go generate new experiences, I think you itch that, or you scratch that itch, if that makes sense.
And the people around you, the people that you love will see that and they'll want to be a part of it. And you said, you made such a beautiful point, which I hadn't thought about before. It is the longing. It's the longing of fulfillment, but find that within yourself. I think the biggest mistakes that people make is they'll be in a situation and they'll feel stuck and they'll seek a thrill.
Yeah.
Right. So they seek a thrill, and that thrill, I promise you, it's not going to be what you need. It isn't. And sometimes it can do more damage than good. And it will be fleeting for a moment because it's not object referral. It's not the thing outside of you. It's what you're longing for is something fundamentally within inside of you. Seek within yourself. Ask yourself the question, where is that coming from? And what do I need to fill that with? And then bring the people that you love with you, to do that. So it starts with you. It's not anything outside of you that's going to give you that.
Does.
Yes.
It's 100%. It's a weird fulfillment. It's funny. We're finding there's someone in our family, my wife and I, and we love this person. It's really close to us. And the interesting thing is like, there's like this like draw to things that are like chaotic. And it's like, it's almost to the point like we love them, but like we can't have it around the family because it's just not who we are. And obviously love to death. But then we start like my wife and I have a discussion. Why is this going on? And I go, there's just a lack of peace. And here's the biggest thing. There's a lack of wanting to see this lack. I think and maybe it's just this person, right? But I feel like I can point this out to this human and say, hey, this is what's going on, but they don't want to see it. Because then I think there's an assumption of I'm broken or something wrong with me. And it's like, I don't think it would be that. But what happens is they keep investing into their energy into areas that brings back more chaos.
Right.
I'm like, just calm. And so to the extent of my birthday's coming up this weekend, this person wants to like come be like, hey, let's go do this. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I just want to be home with the kids. I want to have a good meal. Like if you'd like, we'd love to have you over. We can do it here.
Right.
And then they keep poking to try to get us to go to a restaurant and get reservations and go do this. And I'm like, I don't need that. No. I just want to do this. Right. And it's like, well, how could you? And they can't grasp the idea of not wanting to do something for the 40th for a big bang. And I go, I feel it. And I understand the heart and where it's at.
Right.
But like, I have to step away and go like, I can't have this around me because I don't need all that. Because then you start making me step back and go, am I crazy? Should I? And I go, no, I'm not.
You're not.
So if I didn't have, I'd have control of me, I'd be in a different kind of place. Like it's,
Oh, I know that so
it's humans,
well.
Man. We're all wonky breed.
We are, and that's the same thing happened with me on my last birthday. It's so funny that you say that. It's not. We're brought together for a reason. But I'll tell you, I battled with that. But you can only meet people where they are, and you should only meet people where they are, right? Because then you have no expectations, and you can love them for who they are, and you can be that embodiment that shows them, right? It's the peace within you. So I also study, and I do try. I have two main practices in my life, which I try to strive for, and it's leaving the world a better place than I found it and leaving people better than I found them. And I try, I'm human, and I try to do those two things.
Yeah.
And through that, there's selflessness, right? You serve. So I have beautiful things that have come into my life, and immediately I want to give back. So how can I put this back into the
Nope. Oh, come on, internet.
You?
The internet of internets.
Nope, it froze. There we go. Can you hear me? How's that? I can see and hear you now. Oh, no.
Oh, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I lost you for a second. It was a great statement, and then it all went off in the ether.
I was trying to, now I've got to go back, but to think about, I'm trying to, just give me one moment. We were talking about right there.
Yeah,
Just in regards to people, no boundaries. So there was a beautiful saying, when you have this core values of leaving the world a better place than I found it and leaving people better than I found them. And I do truly strive for that, but that's how I have to show up, right? That's a lot about not what I'm doing for them. It's how I'm showing up for myself. And I read something that was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And, you have beautiful things come into your life, right? So you have abundance come into your life. And then you have to turn around and put that right back out into the world. That's the best gift you can ever give. And that's selflessness. And that's how you should run your life, except when you are protecting your peace. And that's when you are always allowed to be selfish, right? That's the gift. It's your boundaries. And when you put your boundaries in place, you're teaching others that they can have the same. Because what I'm hearing, there's a lot of people there think that they need to constantly express themselves or be in this chaotic world or find outlets when truly all they need to do is look within. And that really gets
into.
I think
there's something that's. I got a buddy named Trevor with that.
Yes, it's the same thing, and that gets into the next.
It's like my internet's all wonky.
Yeah, it is. It's going in and out. Can you
just rock? Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It's like the audio's going crazy. Your Resh needs your help with this. He'll fix it. I think now we're back synced up. It's really interesting, and I hope it gets fixed. I got a presentation in like 30 minutes, something like that.
So too.
But yeah, I do believe you need to have the boundaries, because if you set the boundaries, people understand. I think it was Lisa Nichols once said, "You teach other people how to love you based on how you love you."
Absolutely. There isn't a truer thing to do, and you've got to show that. You have to have the boundaries, and you've got to teach people. And it's the word no is such a beautiful word. That's a complete sentence. No, thank you. No, that's not for me today. No, thank you so much, but let's think of something else, or maybe I'll meet you next week. No is a beautiful word, and I try and teach my kids that all the time. No, thinking to yourself, that doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve where I'm going. Use that. And the word, being stuck in situations, whether it is the job, the relationship, the this or that, you have this shot. You have this one shot of this life of you as you are right now. There doesn't need to be a stuckness, right? Have the conversations, have the things, do the things, and focus on it. And I would say, right, the other thing there that we talk about is really the emotional well-being. And that's another pillar of health with our Ayurvedic practice. And it's understanding, going within. And you mentioned something that was beautiful. Sometimes people want to look outside of themselves and distract themselves because they don't want to look within, because that's hard. And they don't want to feel broken. Yeah. I'll tell everybody who's listening right now, brokenness is beautiful. Allow yourself to be broken. We have to. That's how we know that we're living life and experiencing it. The heartaches, the pains, because you're putting yourself out there, you want to experience the love. You want to experience the beautiful gift of it, right? That's the whole point of it. So the brokenness allows the light and the love to shine through the cracks.
That's true. It's a Japanese. You know what, a Japanese pasta have that? You ever heard of that?
No.
Yeah, I got dogs too. Okay, I thought it was my dog for a second. No, like there's those Japanese pots. So what they do is they break, and then what they do is when they're broken, they
Yes.
fix them by putting
Ever.
gold in between the cracks. And then it's a beautiful, like, I don't know, I got to figure out what they're called. I feel like I should Google it and look it up, but there's a name for them. But they actually they're these jars that they fix them with gold. So this thing that was broken actually is more beautiful than when it was fixed, in a sense. And so I think there is a beauty to the humans. And everybody I do know that is like a centered, like I believe it. I don't do well with people that aren't settled inside.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel them when you're around them. There's this energy, like there's this tension in the room. Like it's I can hang with you, but like I can't do it all day. I can feel it. But there's certain people I'm like, oh, I could be in the same room with you for an hour and not speak a word, but like we're still connected and it's cool. And I'm good with that. And I think that those people who are able to be there they've been broken somewhere and they fixed themselves in a process. So there's like a settledness to life, and they're way easier to be around. There's a different understanding it, like beyond a conscious level, is like a heart centered. I get what you're talking about. The brokenness makes it beautiful later.
It does. Oh, I have goosebumps. That was beautiful. It is. We are beautifully broken, and it's our choice, and it's the courage. The most courageous thing that we could ever do is work on ourselves, right? So to sit with somebody and to feel their peacefulness, tell them about that first and foremost, because it's such an incredible compliment to say, I feel so comfortable and safe in your energy right now that we can just sit. And it's such a healing. When you're healing yourself, you're healing parts of you that go out into the world too. That's our responsibility as humans, right? So please don't be afraid to look within. Have the courage to do it, because then you're healing other people as you walk out into the world and share that. And it's such an incredible thing. And that's what we walk through with our Ayurvedic practice. And we get into the next pillar, which is the emotional needs and well-beings. And we talk about, what does that look like? How to process emotions, doing shadow work, doing healing. And while we don't replace, therapy or any kind of medical services, we are a beautiful complement to that. So you can start to have those conversations and start to come balance and understand fundamentally that you're not alone, and that we can talk about this and work through this together. And then you get into the self-care, which is another beautiful pillar, right? And that's a beautiful gift. People still call that selfish. And I will tell them, it is not something you plan once a month. It's something that tools in your tool belt that you have every day that you can say, I need to go take 5 minutes. I'll talk to my kids and be like, yeah, I'm going to go put myself in a timeout. Beautiful space. I'm going to go take some space. I'm going to go grab a meditation, which is the last pillar, which is a big one. Because a lot of people are scared of that word. And I love talking with people who are like, no, I can't. And I'm like, let's unpack this for a second, right? Let's talk about what this looks like, because it's not just sitting still, with your legs crossed and your back straight in a rigid position. Because I'll tell you, if I go ask you to watch Netflix like that, you're not going to do it. Why would you sit there and be peaceful for 15 minutes if that's the way you have to do it? So that looks different from everyone. And the reason I like to finish with that one is because it does allow you, as we've been talking through this whole podcast, we've mentioned many times, it's the self-referral, which is going within, not the object referral, that allows you, when you have those moments when you need to shift, to fundamentally understand you have everything you need inside of you. You are strong enough. You are courageous enough. You can do the things, I promise you. And if you don't think you can do them, we'll talk about it. We can do them together. I'm always there to listen. But you can do the things that you need to do. And you might not understand it. And you might not know what it looks like. But let go and just go with it. Go with your intuition and follow that path and start to think about it. And you won't regret it. So. Yeah.
I like it. That's a great, beautiful place to conclude our time. Yes. I have two questions I always end with. The first question is, how can I send people to you? Like, where's the best place, links, location, be able to get more information, more engagement with you?
Sure. So balanceofyou.com is my website for coaching. So you can go on there. There's a lot of great resources. You can delve in a little deeper into the Ayurvedic practice. You can see a lot of the studies. I welcome you there. If you have any questions, let me know. You can find me at the Balance of You Co. on Instagram. Also, Snapback Energy is my health supplement. So you can go to snapbackenergy.com or Snapback Energy on Instagram. And if you wanted to just reach out to me and continue conversation, I'm at Tess_Elizabeth1 on social. Or Tessa at balanceofyouco.com. So reach out. Love to continue the conversation. And this was fantastic.
Yeah. It was a good one. Yes. Those of you guys who are hanging out, go check those things out. My team will put all the links in below. Last question. What promise did God or the Creator make to the world when they created you?
Oh, goodness. That I would not leave this world with any of my gifts left unused. He knew without a doubt in his mind, creator would know that I was going to leave this at the end and they're going to be like, yep, tank's empty. She gave it all out. She gave it all. She gave all the love out. She ring her out. She's done. She's ready to come on home. And that, I'll tell you what, I can't wait for that. And I'll tell you, that journey's not easy. It's not, but I'm not going to shy away from it. And I hope nobody else does too. So it's exciting.
I like it. I get it. I totally get it. It's wring every last drop out of it, right? And I never heard anybody say I'm looking forward to it, because I don't think you're looking forward to leaving here, but looking forward to living here, if that makes sense. So
the experience.
I
Absolutely.
like that. It was a pleasure.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, I seriously, it was a blast talking to you. The time flew by. Those you guys are hanging out with us. Thank you so much for being here and spending some time. And you could have been doing anything, but you came here and hung out. So thank you. Two things. One, if you enjoyed this episode, share it with somebody who you know could also benefit from it. Because sometimes we can't reach those people, but somebody else's words can, because we're just too close. Second, take yourself to the areas and the links that are shared to go see if there's something that you can do to continue your journey. Because to be honest, I heard this one statement I love. It says, the biggest room in the world is a room for improvement. Yeah. So go and find areas to step into that room and grow self. Outside of that, as always, make the most of your shift moments. You can make shift happen. It's Anthony Trucks and Tessa Arnold signing off. Hey, thank you for tuning into the Shift podcast. I pray that we gave something amazing to your life. And if you found this episode served you in some way, I would love if you could share it with people you know, people you love, as well as your community, because you never know who needs that simple little seed that can grow into something amazing for their life. And the actual training doesn't stop here. If you want your free copy of the show notes sent to you after every episode so you can get the major points consolidated down, simply go to textanthony.com and message the word notes. Till next time, make shift happen.